Wheel of Randomness, spin, spin, spin. Tell us what movie will win. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with another blind movie reaction for the month of January. So as a reminder, this entire month we are doing blind movie reactions. And what I mean by that is we have the wheelofnames.com randomizer. And we're using that to randomly spin a different movie that was donated for every single movie reaction of this month. So every movie reaction this month we will be spinning, and the winning movies will be reacted to. And we're spinning right as we get into it. Like, this is, I'm recording this Friday. I'm recording this pre-thoughts video right now, literally right before I download the movie, and then I'm going to watch it right after. So we're doing this like right spur of the moment. So I have the wheel up here. Let me bring this up. Once again, there's a lot of options on here. You can look through them. You can't see all of the names, but the entirety of all of the names. But there's a bunch of different movies on here from different genres. A couple different donators. Most of them are from Venom because he's our most common donator. But we have some from some other donators as well. And I have a good mix on here so that whenever something is chosen, it will be replaced by something of the same genre. I want to make it very even like that. So yeah, you can see we have a bunch of different stuff on here, a bunch of different genres, a bunch of different styles, etc., etc. And we're just going to spin this and go with whatever we get. It's completely random. I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be anything. But there's nothing else to do besides to, well, spin it. So let's see what we're going to react to today. And we have Pixels. You can't see that entirely, but it's Pixels, which it's officially listed as fantasy. From what I know of the movie, I wouldn't call it a fantasy, but that's what it's officially listed as. So yeah, you could see it on the wheel, though. You could see where the arrow's pointing to, Pixels right there, so yeah. Okay, so what do I know about Pixels? Well, I know this is a movie about, like, video games come to life or something like that. I think it stars Peter Dinklage, and I think The Rock is in it. Dwayne Johnson. I don't know who else might be in this, because I haven't heard about this movie since it first came out. And I think the reaction was pretty mixed. There were some people who enjoyed it, but a lot of people also thought it was just very meh as a movie. I didn't hear a lot of people saying it was, like, really bad. But there's a lot of people who just couldn't get into it and everything. Other than I guess, the basic concept of video game characters coming to life, I don't know exactly, like, how they come to life or what anything beyond that is. I know nothing about, like, characters otherwise or whatnot. So I'm going into this, I guess you could say, partially blind. I don't know any details. I just know the most base concept, and I think a couple of the actors, if I'm even correct about those actors. So this is going to be interesting. This is a movie that I've kind of, like, always been putting off. When it was first coming out, I kind of wanted to see it, but I just never did, and I just never got around to it. It's just something I never ended up getting to. So this is going to be pretty interesting. And considering yesterday's movie, yesterday for you, the beginning of the week for me, was the interview, this should probably balance things out a lot better for me. Because I feel like this is a movie I would be more into than that, just on a basic level. Like, they both have comedy as one of their genres, but this one, again, fantasy was listed ahead of comedy for this, so this is a movie I think is going to appeal to me as someone who has been gaming since the NES era. Because I believe like the two video game references I believe I know are in this are Donkey Kong and Pac-Man. Both games that I played from the very beginning of my time playing video games. They weren't my first. My first video game was actually Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES. Fun enough. It was the first game no, it was that because it was the first game I was introduced to by my uncle, who introduced me to video games. And then it was Super Mario Bros. 3 after that, I think. Though it could have been Super Mario Bros. 3 before that. I don't know. It's like I kind of. It's hard to remember 100% which one I played first. Because I did play both, and I played them both with him. I remember that very strongly. I just don't remember which one I played first. I'm not 100% on that. So, but yeah, Donkey Kong and Pac-Man were still two very early games I played, along with like classic stuff like Tetris and Legend of Zelda and whatnot. So it's like I don't know every reference that's going to be in here, but I'm very interested to see what they all are and how they're integrated in. But yeah, I don't know who else is in this, so I have to go download this now. So we're gonna end the pre-thoughts here. We're gonna get to the movie, um, and hope for the best. Let's hope this is a good one. So let's get to the reaction. I'll see you there. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link down in the description below to go to today's reaction, I just wanted to take this moment real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. Every single day of the week, we have some awesome Let's Plays for you. A bunch of different things to check out, and more coming in the future. And don't forget to click that subscribe button or like the video if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out. There will be more to come in the future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get this going. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Again, sorry for the lighting and everything. It's just, it got really dark out. I put on my ring lights during the reaction, but yeah, it's that time. It's the time of year where it gets dark out a lot earlier, and so it's actually only 5:42 p.m. as of like right at this moment when I'm saying this. So yeah, that shows you how dark it is comparatively. And if you see some like strobing flashing lights there, that's the Christmas tree. We still have it up at this point. Anyways, before anything, I wanted to look up a couple of the actors, because I wanted to know like where I knew them from. Maddie's actor, Matt Lintz, I know him from the Miss Marvel series. Though obviously in that he's a lot older. That came out like 4 years after this movie did, because I think it came out in 2019, maybe 2020, 4 or 5 years, something like that. Actually, could it have been more recent? Hold on. Now I have to check. Oh, Miss Marvel was 2022. So 7 years after. Wow. Okay. But yeah, I know him for that. And then the Prime Minister of the UK. I was saying, like, where do I know her from? Was she in Doctor Who? She was in the Harry Potter movie. She was Petunia Dursley. And it's like, and while I don't have fondness for that series or anything because of Rowling anymore, it's like I can still acknowledge she's still a good actress. Also, she's super gay. Fun fact for you. Yeah, Fiona Shaw is gay. So yeah, and I think she might have actually been in an episode of Doctor Who or something. I'm not seeing anything directly, but apparently she was in the Disney Plus series Andor, the Star Wars series. She was in True Blood, Killing Eve. I know she's in Enola Holmes. I haven't seen that yet. But I swear I thought she was like also in Doctor Who somewhere. Let me see if I can find that. It would have been the newer Doctor Who, so it would have been from 2005 onwards. But oh, apparently she's in that Three Below series, Tales of Arcadia. No, I'm not seeing Doctor Who. Apparently she wasn't. Huh. Um, but anyways, let's talk about this. So I looked up reviews on this, and just based off of things I remember it being a lot more like split on opinion about this. I feel like I did see back in the day. Mind you, this was like almost a decade ago at this point. Actually, it'll be a decade this year that this came out. Um, but I swear I remember seeing back in the day that there were people who liked this, that there were people who enjoyed this. But looking it up now, it seems like most of the reviews and everything I was just briefly looking up were entirely negative. In fact, it's got like less than 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's just like, which, mind you, as always, take with a grain of salt because that's, in fact, actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let me look that up because I want to see how um, because it says it on the Rotten Tomatoes thing, it's 18% the, the, based on the reviews by the critics, not the reviews by the actual audience. I want to see audience. Okay, so the audience reviews based on 50,000 plus is 46, so it's a lot higher. But yeah, it's 18% based on the 205 critic reviews. And the critical consensus says that much like the worst arcade games from the era that inspired it, Pixels has little replay value and is hardly worth a quarter. And it seems like most reviews and stuff here seem to be negative and all that. I'm not going to go into all of that. I've done that in the past. Not going to go into all of that here. Because I don't really want to hear all of the negativity. I don't really want to, like... it's not going to influence me or anything. I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to... Um, I just don't want to give it any... How do I put this? I'm bad at wording things. Please bear with me. I don't want to give it any airtime, for lack of a better fucking word that I can't think of right now, um, on the channel, because I fucking love this movie. I have one major issue with it, and then there's maybe some like nitpicks here and there that could have been a little different, could have been done maybe a little bit better, but that's just nitpicks. But I have one major issue, and I'll get to that. But I loved this movie. As someone who has grown up with video games, not necessarily in the era that this is about, the 80s and all, because I was born in 92, but I have played a lot of these games. I have played them. I've played a lot of games since. And again, I've grown up with video games as a medium. This felt like an absolute love letter to gaming as a whole, to just the experience of video game, even showing newer stuff like The Last of Us in there, modern stuff shown through Maddie's eyes and all. It feels like this is a movie made by people who love video games, made for people who love video games. And yeah, some things, some aspects of it are absolutely weird. Of course. And there's some jokes that may not hit perfectly. I mean, sure, it's an Adam Sandler movie. That's pretty much like par for the course. But for the most part, all in all, I'd honestly say it's one of Adam Sandler's better movies. And there's actually a few strong reasons for that. And I think the biggest one is that there was no racist Rob Schneider cameo in it. Like, have you seen a lot of those movies, a lot of the Adam Sandler movies where Rob Schneider comes in and just out of nowhere is playing an insanely racist depiction of some other culture? Like even Click, that has like the makings of an amazing story, has Rob Schneider doing that in it. And it's so gross. And Rob Schneider, meanwhile, is just a terrible person in general, but it's so gross and like horrific, and it ruins a lot of Adam Sandler's films. But that's not in here. The worst part about this, the only actual real complaint I have about this movie, is Josh Gad's character. Josh Gad's character is needless. He doesn't add anything of note to the film. He is a weird, kind of cringy, even slightly sexist, negative stereotype on gamers. He is honestly kind of gross. And he does have some moments. He does have a couple moments that, he stands out in, sure. But he's not a good character. And he's basically what a lot of people like who see gamers as a wholesale negative. This is how people view us. And it's like just trying to show him as like, the thing is they don't do anything to make him seem otherwise. They just make the trope. He's just the trope. They don't do anything to make him seem like anything more than that. Hell, Adam Sandler's character is made to seem like more than that. Kevin James's character even. But Josh Gad's, he's they just make him out to be a gross, weird, kind of creepy dude, and that's all he is in the end. That's all he is. Yes, he helped save the world, and yes, he did good at the shooting and the aiming and stuff, but that doesn't like take away from the negatives aspects. Um, Peter Dinklage's character is basically what I would say is the better version of him. Because he's where you take this kind of cringy, weird character, this kind of cringy, weird gamer stereotype in a way, but make him fun and entertaining at least. Make him very interesting, and you showcase him as a bad guy. Like he was in prison. He was actively cheating. He won the Donkey Kong game back at the championship by cheating. He's shown to be in the negative. And he mostly comes back from that. Again, this is one of those examples of kind of nitpicking. I feel like they could have had his redemption be a little more, have a little more focus, a little more attention to it. But they still gave him a redemption where he not only came back and redeemed himself from his cheating, didn't cheat again, and genuinely admitted, even if it was by coercion because otherwise he would be sent to prison again, he genuinely admitted that Brennan, was the true best at Donkey Kong. At that time, of course, mind you, but still. And I mean, again, he saved the world by beating Donkey Kong, so. Yeah, it's just, it's. I just feel like he's a better version of what Josh Gad's character was. Josh Gad, like, he didn't add anything positive to this. I won't say he ruined the movie, but he took away a bit from it. He was just not a good character. I liked Violet a lot. She was definitely one of, if not the best character in this. Because yes, while she fell into the tropes of like getting with the guy and everything, because pretty much all of Adam Sandler's movies have that trope. she was still shown to be a strong, capable, valuable member of the team, just as much as anyone. She was an equal and was shown to be an equal. And I appreciate that. Especially in a movie that's about gaming, because that's something that for a long time was seen more as a more or of a boy oriented pastime. And yes, girls always gamed. It was always a thing, and that needs to be acknowledged. But that's how the public saw it, you know? It was a skewed vision, but it was what the public saw. And nowadays people don't really think that anymore. Nowadays it's just like people just like to game. It's like sports. Everybody can get into sports. Your gender doesn't matter. There are just as many female sports fans, whether it be football, American football, baseball, hockey, doesn't matter. I see just as many female sports fans as male ones and NB ones. But yeah, so she's just as valuable of a character as anyone in this film, and she's very much shown to be as such. Um, Kevin James has been insufferable in some other films, whether Happy Madison Productions or not, and he was a lot more restrained in this. Mind you, he didn't have the professionalism that would have like even gotten him into the office of the president. But to be fair, after this movie came out, we got Trump twice now. So I don't think it's as unrealistic to see Kevin James as the president as you would think. Not when we've had fucking Trump as president twice now. Well, technically, the second time hasn't happened yet. I don't know when the inauguration's supposed to be, but it's like I don't entirely care either, so I haven't been paying a huge amount of attention. Um, but yeah, having the actual Iwatani in this as a Pac-Man repairman, I can understand why they probably didn't have him play himself in this. Various purposes. He's not an actor, and maybe he just didn't want to actually do the role. Maybe they asked him and he didn't want to do it. But to have a cameo at least to actually show him in there is really cool. Having all these callbacks to all these different classic arcade games and all, it's so good. It's so good. It's such a fun just love letter to video games. And I love movies that do that, whether they're a love letter to games, to classic horror, to all kinds of stuff like that, to classic superhero media, whatever it is. When a movie or a piece of media really captures itself as a love letter to pieces of media of the past and everything, or just that genre piece of media, etc., just in general of all time, that's something that I always just really get behind. It's like the movie Stream, which we did here on the channel last year. Stream is a love letter to horror, featuring some big names in horror in it. It's a great love letter to horror films, while also being a very entertaining film. And I see Pixels on that same level, honestly. Like, again, not every joke worked, but honestly, you could say that about literally every comedy ever made. There's some things that just weren't as logical or sensical or necessary. But you can nitpick pretty much any film. So it's not really fair to judge little tiny nitpicks that don't really affect the overall enjoyment of the film. It's not really fair to use those to complain and to criticize, in my opinion. It comes down to big issues. And again, the only one I saw was Josh Gad, and I don't think it was enough to take away. And it wasn't even Josh Gad's performance necessarily, because I actually think he did fine. It was the character it's himself. It was the character as written. But also, to be fair, going into this, realizing during the opening credits that it was a Happy Madison film, honestly, I'm not surprised either. Because Again, Happy Madison, Adam Sandler has had a lot worse in their films. This was actually very tame with that kind of stuff. And yeah, it came out in an era long after like the 90s where a lot of those films came out, and it's like, yeah, people are more conscious about it now, and even more now in 2025. But I still think that people probably overblew a lot of their feelings on this film. I mean, if you didn't like the film, that's fine. You're allowed to not like it. Like, it's subjective opinion, and you're entitled to yours. You're entitled to think whatever you want of the film. If you genuinely didn't like it, then you genuinely didn't like it. But I feel like a lot of people were judging this on Adam Sandler and everything, because there's a lot of people who just don't like Adam Sandler films. A lot of people who just don't see him as a good actor or see his movies as entertaining or funny. And I feel like there's a lot of people who probably judged it based on that, like prior to even seeing the film. Because that's a thing that happens a lot nowadays, too, you gotta keep in mind. People will judge a film and have a full blown review of it pretty much written out before they've ever even seen it. Because they judge it on what other people have said, like other reviewers and whatnot. They'll judge it based on basically word of mouth over actually seeing the film. And again, they'll have made their decisions on the film before seeing it, so when they actually do see it, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change their already cemented opinions. And it sucks that, like, we've gotten to that point where that's how things tend to be reviewed these days. And it sucks that these reviews unfortunately do affect how future movies are made and how, like, the studios do and the actors do and everything. Because a lot of these movies are just unfairly hated on. And it's a lot of times there's been a lot of movies I've heard people like complain about, but couldn't actually explain why they don't like it. And it's just, and sometimes even when they do have an explanation, the explanation is just, it basically just boils down to, it's not what I wanted, which is valid. Like, that's a valid thing to think, but that doesn't make a movie bad. It just means it wasn't for you, because it's not what you wanted out of the film. I mean, that pretty much explains the hatred against the sequel trilogy for Star Wars. It just wasn't like the original Star Wars, so people hated it because it wasn't what they wanted from it. And it's just, it's wild to me. And again, you can like or dislike whatever you want. I'm not trying to discount your opinion. I'm just saying, at least have a reason. And if you have a reason, cool, fine, whatever. We disagree, that's cool. But at least have a reason, like a legitimate reason for disliking a film. Don't just dislike it because other people told you to. That irritates me the most, when people just listen to reviews and judge a movie or a game or a show before they've even seen it or played it. It's like, that's not fair. You're not actually forming an opinion. So, yeah. I love this. I thought it was great. I thought it felt like a great love letter to gaming and to gamers. And I thought it was, for the most part, very funny. I thought it was charming. I really enjoyed it. I liked the visuals. I liked the acting. And again, for a Happy Madison production, for an Adam Sandler film, it was a lot more restrained than you would expect. It didn't go too hard. It didn't go too aggressively, like, what's the word? It wasn't too aggressively distasteful. Let's put it that way. Like a lot of his movies have been. I think it was actually a lot more restrained, and I think that's because of the time it came out. It makes me look forward to Happy Gilmore 2 even more. Because Happy Gilmore was always one of my favorite Adam Sandler films. It's one of the funniest by far. Like actually funniest in my opinion, and I just always liked it. I've seen it so many times, and even more recently. And it's like, yeah, not everything in it ages well, but like the entire Bob Barker bit is one of the funniest things I've seen in any film, hands down. The Price is Wrong, bitch, makes me howl with laughter. So it's like I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Happy Gilmore too. Um, but yeah, I thought Pixels was great. I love that Donkey Kong was the finale, was the big boss. It makes sense because it's like it's one of the biggest games of all time. It kind of really revolutionized gaming, and even nowadays, it's like we see everything that was inspired by it. But you have Pac-Man, you have Centipede, and everything else, and it's just like as someone who's played all of these games, as someone who's really just gotten into this medium, it's like this is absolutely the kind of media I want to see. Media that takes gaming and gamers seriously, for the most part, again, minus Josh Gad's character, and is just, fun. I thought it was just a very fun film. I had a blast with it. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Pixels? Are you more towards what the majority of people think, or are you more on my side, or kind of in the middle somewhere? Let me know. And actually, like, let me know what your actual thoughts are. Like, outside of just like liking it or not liking it, let me know why. I'd love to hear your actual perspective, even if it's different than mine. But all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more randomized movies for January. So, yeah, hope to get something just as good as this, if not better. For the time being, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.